Hi, this is Pam from Heart of Texas. I'm going to show you how to assemble one of our newest products. It is the Keurig type pod holder for your coffee that you use for the Keurig machine. This one is the shape of a boot, and the next one we'll do is in the shape of the state of Texas. This comes with three 3.5-inch wooden dowels that we use to stabilize and hold the boots together. It also comes with a 4-inch turntable that's on ball bearings that allows the pod holder to swivel. It comes with a base that is 8 inches by 5 inches. It comes with 2 of the 1/2 inch by 9 sides, and then 2 of the 1/2 inch by 4 3/4, which will assemble to make the base for the box. It also comes with a 4.5 by, I'm trying to see what the cover is. The top is 7.5 by 4.5 that will sit on it, and it will be covered in denim to assemble all this. It also comes with 2 little pieces, I don't know if you can see, that have some notches cut out, and those are joined as how it joins the boot and how they sit more stable on the turntable itself. So the first thing we're going to do is to spray these boots, the center boot and the dowels, with some Diane Reveille Delusions melted chocolate spray. And we probably do it a little bit different than what you do if you're painting in your art journals and things like that. So we want to make sure that we don't get anything paint absorbed on the back side, because we want it to be smooth and show. So not leak through, not seep through. So this is the boot. I'm going to shake the paint. Again, it's the Delusions chocolate, melted chocolate spray. Probably see it there. It's easier to read if I turn it the right way. Right there. And I just shake it gently and hold it about 10 to 12 inches and just spray. With this chipboard, you can just about go over it one time, and just continue to spray it lightly until it's coated. Going over it a lot of times with this is not going to really change the color of it. It's not going to get much darker than what it is once it dries. You just don't want to spray it too heavy the first time, because you want it to dry and not have any chance of buckling up. So once it's dry, then you'll turn it over and do the other side. We only want to use just one side of the paper towel, turn it over, and let it spray. While that's drying just a little bit, I'm going to spray these dowels. So these dowels I'm going to just spray on this, and because I want them to roll around in this and get a good coverage of paint. So, can you see? Yeah, there it is. And then I just rub the ends in them so that they'll go ahead and color the pieces that aren't. So these are sprayed, And you can just set those aside and let them dry naturally. And this is probably dry enough, so I'm just going to flip these paper towels over because there's 3 thicknesses of it. And I can use one to kind of wipe my hands off. I'm going to pick this one up and turn it back over and spray. And let this side dry. I'll probably ink the edges of this just because it's kind of a big mess to spray up where I'm spraying and get it on the edges too. So that's just about right. Now you can spray the bottom of your box if you want to. I just usually paint it with just plain old brown acrylic paint. It's very little of it's going to show. We're going to top the cover with denim, and that comes in your kit. So very little of your base is going to show. Your box will be put together so that it looks like this. This will be the bottom. This will be where your spinner will go. And then this will be all covered with your little plate on like this that has the denim over it. I can't seem to stay in the camera. That has the denim over it. And then we'll put some paper that coordinates with the boot color on the side. We're, excuse me, now going to attach the side pieces to the base of this. And I'm using a fine line applicator with glossy accents, so it'll make it just a little easier to glue, get a fine line going. This is just the, it's just the standard tip. I'm gonna zoom in just a little so maybe you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna run glossy accents, a bead of it down the base of this. This is on the bottom side, not that it makes any difference right now. This will be on the bottom. I'm not, when we paint it, I'm just going to paint the outer edges of it and the sides because the rest of it's going to be covered. So I'll take this, I need to turn it around so I can see where I'm putting it. Just put it right on the edge, butt it up to the edge of the first piece and hold it down until it sets. Just make sure that your edges are even. Let that one set. We'll switch around to the side and do the same process. Just run a bead of glue. Now it really doesn't matter if it squishes out because it's just going to be on the inside of the bottom side of the box we make. So again, the same process. Just going to push this down on here and let it set. We want the sides to fit into this box on the inside of it. So we're going to put glue on the bottom of this. Oops, I guess I should be here. But just on the bottom like we do, or on the outside edge of the box. It doesn't really matter. It's probably easier to run it on the box than it is on this little tiny piece. So you want to do that. And then just a bead of glue on, or some glue on each end of the little strips there. So you're glued, let's see, glued right here on each end and here on each end. So just kind of run another bead here because we want this to stay. And then position it here so that the inside is, or the outside of the box is a square. And hold your edges together. see what I'm doing. Let me see if I can make this up. Come back here. Sometimes you just seem to leave things alone. Yeah. Maybe. Zoom in a little there. All right. So while we have it just sitting right here, I'm going to squeeze these two edges together because we want them to be flush, and then this box on the outside edge should be flush, and just hold it until it sits. And you have to add some more glue on the sides. Just do that because we want it to adhere together, bond nicely. We want to wait as long as we can, before moving or using the other side, so this one will set up and it won't come apart. I'm going to switch around to this side, and again I'm going to put glue right on the inside edge of this. It's on the top of it. It's not on the side of it. That's here, just right on the top of this. So if you can see, I'll try to hold it a little bit so you can see where the glue is. That's not down here. It's just right across the top of that. And then I'll put some on the inside of each one of these, like so, and some on the outside edges. Then I'm going to do the same process, just set it in there and press it together until it's kind of like watching a little bit of paint dry again. So you want to let this dry completely, and I can show you a little bit more of what it's going to look like. It's going to have, I'm not real happy with that one. That one kind of moved. Let me fix that again. Anyway, this is the inside of the bottom, and this is where your base, your turntable will go. Will fit in here. It'll be taped to the inside with score tape to the inside of this. And once this is dry, we'll flip it over and paint the outside of this and the edges of this, and then we'll cover it with denim. Now that the Glossy Accents is dried, and this is the finished base for your product, I'm going to paint it with just some Delta Ceram coat, and this one is burnt umber. You can use whatever you like to paint the base, and I just am going to paint the outside edges of this around here, because this is going to be the rest of it is going to be covered up with the denim. So I'm just painting the outside of the box, and or the base, I guess it's almost a box, and then I'll hold it and paint the sides of it. You can do as many coats as you want. I just really don't think it needs too many because we're the rusty cowboy look anyway, so it should work out pretty good. So we have this painted. Oops. We'll just let it dry a minute, and then we'll add the base cover to it. I forgot to mention that we're supposed to spray these two little inserts, or they're actually stabilizing bars, with the Dylusions chocolate spray. Because they were hiding over in the corner, but I'm just going to spray them real fast, and then these are not going to show, so it doesn't really matter if they have the things leaked over. So we'll just let them dry for a minute, and then we'll move on to the denim part of the face. Over here to dry. That over here. Clean up my mess real quick. So you want to do that when you're spraying the inside of your boot or Texas and the 3 dowels that we're going to use. So those all need to be. It's better if they're sprayed at the same time, then you don't have to clean up too many messes. So I'm going to, this is the denim, or the piece that goes on, that's covered with denim, that will sit on the space, like so. So we're going to put some score tape on this to cover the top, but first I want to just ink around this edge with some, ink around the edge with some black soot, just to kind of cover up the edges. You can use, if you want to ink, fine. If you don't want to ink, that's fine. You can use whatever color you want on it. Okay, so that's inked around the edges with some black soot. More right there. And now I'm going to put some score tape. Let me take my wool gloves off. This is, I'm just going to put the score tape around, first around the perimeter of this, and trying to find, just cut it with my scissors. This is 3/4 inch score tape. I don't have any 1 inch, or I would certainly use that. Score tape works well with when you're going to cover some fabric. And I'll cover something with fabric. I guess we're not going to cover fabric. And then just 1 or 2 down middle, or 3, because you want it to stay on. We'll then glue this to the base that we just made. And I know that I have a foam folder to varnish it with, but there. And then I pick these little fellas off. I think we finally had our winter. It's been cold the last 2 days. It's kind of cold today, but tomorrow it's supposed to be 70. So we just never know what to expect here. This is the denim. It's just a piece that comes in your kit. You can just cover it, put it on. And this one has a little wrinkle. I guess I could have ironed it, but I don't want to. So I'm just going to push it on and put the wrinkle. You can see that it just goes on. I'm going to varnish around it really good. Make sure it gets a good seal. Whoops, there's a little bump in there. There's that little bump out. I have a oh, there's a brayer. Just to roll it and make sure it's much easier than trying to do that. Just get it good and flattened and so that you're happy with it. And then we're going to cut off the excess of it. Put on the glass mat. I use a X-Acto line. It just cuts it. So just hold it and pull it. And your knife needs to be nice and sharp. This is pretty new. I've been trying to make myself use just a regular, like Martha Stewart or Prima X-Acto knife, but I just keep going back to this. I have a lot of trouble with my thumb, so this doesn't seem to bother it very much. So I just keep going back to what I like, what I'm used to. I remember when they first came out, it was like a real surprise to put that thing on your finger and cut with it. Okay, so now we have the base right here. So we're going to assemble it on here, leaving about 1/4 inch all the way around. And again, I'm going to put score tape on just to hold it. It's not as much as I would prior. And to just so it'll stay. And this is our perfect spacer. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I use that when making some of the Kathy Orta books or some of our books that have we have to leave a gap, and this is the same 1/8 inch gap that we're supposed to use, and so it works well on not having to hunt for your ruler or make sure your chipboard pieces are the same amount or same size. And then if you don't have an extra piece of chipboard, I guess this is even better. It's called the Perfect Spacer. It's made by Heart of Texas out of acrylic, and it has a hole in it, so you can either put a ribbon on it or you can just go all out and put a really fancy piece of string on it so you won't lose it like I did. Again, we're going to varnish the score tape so it'll get ready to do its job, and pull it off. So we have the box face, and I'm just going to kind of guesstimate how it should look. Set on there and push it down. You can either at this time put your turntable on or your swivel on. That really looks crooked, but I don't think it is. It's just the way the denim is running. But it won't matter much because you're going to see the boot will sit on top of it. And if you want to put it in, there's really no right or wrong way on the swivels. I just put them on with score tape right in the center. So I guess while we're doing this, we can just put the score tape on. So I'm just going to, doesn't really matter if it's over the hole because it's not going to hurt it. And I don't know that you need a ton of score tape. So you're not going to be pulling on it, and it's not really carrying a load or anything. So just trim off the little pieces that are sticking out, like so. And then varnish it. I just let that go over the hole that's right here in the middle. I love score tape. That's good stuff. Easy to use. And then as good as you can guesstimate where you want it to go, put it in and just drop it down. Press it. Press it some when you get it up here, and you have a swivel that is ready to go. We're now going to decorate the boots. So I've cut out 4 boot patterns, 2 inside and 2 outside. And I always just, excuse me, mark on the front of my boot that says outside so that I know which way to put my boot pattern. And so the boot is going to be, let's see if I can zoom out a little, because the boot's going to be facing this way. This will be the two fronts. This will be a front, and this will be a front. So you'll have 2 fronts. They're going to face like so. Going to face out, and this will face out. So they'll face each other, and they'll be like this. If you can see that. So the insides will be a different color. The outsides will be facing each other like that. So I don't like the white that is showing on these, because it's a single-sided paper, and I just went around it in the black soot to try to get it to not be quite as obvious. I've already run this through the Xyron. You can see on the back, so it has the sticker. So I don't like the white showing on the, if you look kind of in that paper, you can see on this edge. So I have just gone around it with black soot. It's just on the white, so I'm really not inking the circles much. It's just kind of on the where it was cut, because this is single-sided paper, and I want it, or just single-sided paper, and I want it to be darker and not show up the white. So I just kind of can look down on the inside of it and see if it's covered it pretty good. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just, it's one of those little things that annoys you on something. And this already has the adhesive on it. I just ran it through the Xyron, so they're ready to stick down. This one, on these I ran it through the Xyron, and then I cut these out on my Cameo. If you order a kit from us, they will come pre-cut. But if you're going to cut your own, paper. If you want to use your own paper and you buy the raw chipboard kit, email me and I will send you the SVG file to cut the boot or the Texas, and it just will save you a lot of time. I cut mine on the Cameo. I don't know about a Cricut, but it'll cut on the Eclipse and it'll cut on the Cameo. So I'm going to pull the glue off of this one and start applying it. And but first I'm going to ink it just a little bit. So I'm going to turn it upside down so that I hopefully I don't want ink on the outside of it. So you can see that this is a double-sided paper, but it still has the white core. So I just kind of need to get it inked. And I'll look down there and I can see that it's not covered too well. So I just can hold it in my hand and ink around it like so. And get it done. Now this paper is on the inside of this sample, and so you have to flip your boot according to what paper you want to use. So this is going to be on the inside of this boot. So I'm going to take this off because it slips a lot. I don't want it to slip while I'm doing this. You have a little bit of wiggle room on this to do it. I just kind of start at the foot or the heel of the boot. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. And if you cut it with an SVG, using the SVG file, it will fit on there. Now, that looks pretty good. You can see that it's stuck down. So see that little white showing through, and looks pretty good on the toe. Looks good up here. And you can, so I'm just going to call it done, and I'm going to glue this down. If you want to check and make sure that all your edges are sealed with this adhesive, and if you can flick them with your fingers, you'll need to, whoops, you flick them with your fingers, then you'll need to, see, I can make that one moves up a little, so I want to go ahead and of the edges that are flopping up. So I'm going to set this one aside and cover the other inside one, which this will be, I've marked on the second boot the outside, and so I know that this is going to be the inside of this boot. So we're going to do basically the same thing. We're just going to pull this adhesive off, or try. There. And get it lifted off. There we go. And then we're going to put this on the boot. And it'll work its way around. You can see. There we go. That one went on really easy, so I'm gonna put it down. Make sure there's no loose edges. You can kind of feel them flip up if there are. And just sprayer it down. And then we're ready to put the covers on the front, which I mark the outside so I know where it needs to go. I know you probably can't see that, but it really is marked on there just a little. So this is the same thing. It's this next to boot that's going to go on like this. So I'm going to start this coming. You could start from either end. Just whatever I just grabbed. I'm gonna start. I apologize for not singing the camera much. I'm trying to work standing up, and then I forget that I have to get in a certain area. Just pull it. And with this adhesive, you have a little bit of wiggle room and forgiveness, so you can go ahead and move it around, manipulate it the way you want to. So we have, I'll start at the bottom of the boot, just because I can, and just to make sure that I can get it. I don't like the way that one's doing that side, so I'm going to start on this side. You know, it's kind of funny. These are all cut on a laser, so they all should be the same, but I think sometimes this paper just doesn't cooperate. And well, I can cut this paper on the laser. I cut it on the Cameo, but so that little 1/16 of an inch sometimes make a difference. But this one turned out good. So this is the inside, and this is the outside of the boot. So we'll put the other one on, and then we're ready to assemble the boot. Once you get all your paper cut, and you just want to make sure that I'm taking the sticky off. That's why it's not in the camera. You want to make sure that you have your paper flipped for the inside and the outside, because it does tend to not fit if you don't do that. If you're cutting it with a cutting machine. Either way, however you do it. All right, so this one is here. Just gonna set this one down again. Using the 3 pieces so that it'll look like this. Come back and I'll show you how to put your first thing we're going to do is put your dowels in place, and then we'll finish. Okay, I have the rest of these covered, and I don't know why I told you needed 3 dowels, but you only need 2 because there's only 2 holes. These dowels are 3.5 inches, 3.5 inches long, and I stuck them in this hole, in the holes, and I measured and marked on here 1 3/4 on each side. So if you just measure, say about 1 3/4, and then this one is 1 3/4. So I made a pencil mark to know where to put them. It's hard to keep this in your camera because it's so tall. And then what I'm going to do is push it out a little bit, and you can see the pencil mark. It's just right here. So I'm going to run a little bit of glossy accents around that and hold it in place until it kind of sticks. It's easy if you have 2 more hands, but this way I don't. So you just kind of have to do it yourself and work with one little section at a time. With glossy accents, it gives you some drying room. So you can see I just put it, a little bead of it right around here. Can you see that? And then I'm going to push it back in. Push it back in here so that it's back on the 1 3/4 side. And it should, the ink is going to be on, the glue is going to be on both sides. So I'm going to let that set a minute, and I'm going to run another bead on this side just so it'll stay. Because what we're going to do is we're going to kind of attach one at a time, and And we're going to attach this one, get this one set up a little. And you can always measure and make sure that it's 1 3/4 inches before it gets set in there. I know it's hard to get this thing in the camera. So I'm going to push it. Oops, I'm going to push it out here a little bit to get it 1 3/4 inches. Oops. That's just right on 1 3/4 inches. This is pretty close. You can hammer it down just a little. And that's tiny enough that nobody will notice the difference. So it's beginning to set up. So now we have this one. We have the other one that I also marked right here at 1 3/4 inches. So we're gonna, this one is looser. It just depends on, you know, just depends on the wood. I'm gonna hold this down so you can see what I'm doing a little bit easier. I'm just gonna run this bead of glue right through here, right around here. I assume you could probably just put it on the inside of the circle, but you know, however you like to do it. And push this through and let it line up. Oops, let it line up 1.5 inches. And I can't really keep it too still. This is like 1 3/4 inches right here. Just want to make sure that they're pretty level here. And let this dry. I know I'm out of the camera. Sorry. So I'm just going to hold them and push them down and let them dry for a minute. My dowels are set pretty good. So we're going to put these two little notches. They're just going to support the other part of the boot. And they have 1 notch. Let me see if you can see this. 1 notch right here and 1 notch here. So what I'm going to do is put some glossy accents right in this little, get down so you can see it, in this little groove that's down here on the bottom of the boot. And like so. And on both of them. And then we're just going to slip them in. May have to force them a little bit, but that's okay. Oops. Get them in that notch. And oops, push them in. So it's not as hard as I'm making it look. It's just awkward for me. So, and then this one does the same thing. It just pushes in. Put a little bit more glossy accents right there. And push it in. Maybe. Okay. So that's going to give it, if you can see this, a base for it to stand up on, like so. And the other parts of the boot will sit on these two lights. Covered up. Will sit on these two pieces right here. So I'm just going to let that sit up for just a minute. And then we'll put one boot on. So what we're going to do now is have a pretty even surface to work on, as I'm going to put some glue on this, on the end of the, I know I'm working in my shadow here and here. And then take your boot, the right boot, and we're going to put some glue on each one of these little edges, right here and right in here. So I'm going to tape just a whole lot on this. And then we're just going to center this and center it so everything will line up here. Kind of look and see if it all lines up. This should be just right at the edge. This part right here should be right at the edge of your boot. Let's see if you can see that. You can see how it's, how it's just right at the edge of it. And this one is just going to be sitting in this spot. And just hold it down a little bit until it's going to sit. Set. It's going to stick to the wood and the paper. And just so that it won't shift when you've moved it to the other side. We almost have a boot completed and ready to go. So I think I can flip it over. Push it down enough that it's going to work. This is going to have some more glossy accents on it. And you can embellish these boots just any way you want to. I'm going to embellish this one up just a little, and then I'll show you the finished product. I'm going to try to. All right, so this is the second boot. I have it here, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to put it in the same position, line it up right at the edge. Whoops, don't do that. Line it up right here at the edge of your boot. And this one. Just kind of eyeball, make sure they're lined up together. And I'm just gonna put score tape along these strips here, these two strips, which is your support base, and glue it down. It's not gonna go anywhere once it gets that. And I'm gonna put a little bit of glue in here to make sure that it's in those holes really good. And this one should be, these should be fine. And then that would be it. You can use whatever product you want. If you don't want it Western, I think Jim used a cooking pod for it, but then it'll stand up like so, and it's level and ready. Push it down a little bit. All right, everything is glued down. So now we're just ready. This is, you can see kind of what it looks like in here. This is some October afternoon paper. Giddy up something in the inside. And this is what it looks like on the bottom. You can see how this is going to stabilize the boot. You can see. Let's see if I can get out enough so that you can really see. So this is what it looks like here. Turn around. This is your middle boot, and then your other boot. And this is the look from that. when it's sitting up and on the turntable. You can see it turning. So that's glued. What I did do while that was drying, was I cut some 1/2-inch strips to fit, leave about 1/8 of an inch on all 4 sides around this, just to kind of finish it off and give it some color. So now what we want to do is we're going to glue our boot to the base. You want to kind of line it up. I want the heels and the toes to be pretty much at the end of there maybe is like 1/4 of an inch in between the boot, and you can kind of look and line up and make sure that you have it. It's kind of easier if you're looking straight down to make sure that you have it on the other way you want it. And I'm going to put some score tape across here, and then just some regular glossy accents on the other part of it. And then I'm going to embellish it a little bit. And I'll bring it back and finish it. So you can see I just putting score tape right here. And right here. And then it will, this is 3/4 of an inch. And that will help it sit. And then I'll put some glossy accents on the boots themselves, so I can see that right there. Pull these off. Pull these off. And put some glossy accents right down here. Here. All right, so you can see where I have the glossy accents. My dogs have just attacked my husband. And then center it. Oh, it's too far over that way a little bit. Okay, move it. That's straight ahead. Push this down. Let me glue it. Make sure that it's straight enough for you. There you go. So, there it is on its face, and it turns. So let me fix that, and we'll have it decorated. The final product of the boot that we did this afternoon. I put a little embellishment there, and you can see it. If I can get it just a little bit closer. I don't know which way to go. It's hard. This is so tall. This has some blue bonnets, bandana string, some Wink of Stella that's clear. I just cut a circle that's about 2 inches and glued some of the paper that goes with this on there, coordinating paper, and hot glued it all together. So you can see that it holds the Keurigs cups, K-cups. That's what they look like inside. And there's another side of them. There's another. So everything is done, and it's ready for a cup of coffee. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the Texas one.